I, female 30, have been with my significant other, male 30, for 4 years. Very happy and drama-free relationship. There's a couple that we're good friends with, Vicky and Tom, both 31. Vicky is my childhood friend, and Tom is my significant other's childhood friend, and they actually introduced us to each other. Which is why Vicky will be my maid of honor, and Tom will be my significant other's best man at our upcoming wedding in December. Ever since my significant other and I have been together, we went out for drinks or dinners or tennis or, in the last year, video chats with Vicky and Tom on a weekly basis, and I love these evenings. Vicky and Tom are so much fun to hang out with. Everyone likes them. We always have a great time. This year, the four of us went on a vacation together for the first time. We rented a house by the sea and spent a week there. It was great fun until the last evening. We went to a restaurant by the sea, and there was this little pier leading up to the restaurant. We had a nice dinner and drank some wine. Now, we head back to our vacation home, which is when the situation in question occurred. We are all on the pier, and a woman is coming towards us from the other direction. At first, I just saw her silhouette because the light was behind her, and then she stepped into the light. And I don't know how to say this without objectifying or sounding creepy, but she just looked stunning. Think Marilyn Monroe reincarnate, but with an even crazier waist-to-hip ratio. She honestly looked photoshopped. Easily the most beautiful human being I've ever seen. She looked out towards the sea with a cigarette in her hand, and there was such a melancholy air about the whole scene. It was like out of a movie. Anyway, when she is almost passing us, she suddenly looks at my significant other, who was nearest to her, in a super sexy sort of way. I don't know how to describe it, but she simultaneously blew out the smoke through her nose and then bit her lip while looking directly at him, and then she flicked the cigarette into the sea without even looking at it. I don't like people polluting the sea, but she just looked so cool doing it. Sorry, I know I'm going into too much detail. Just know that she looked like straight out of a movie. So she passes us, and my significant other and I look at each other, and his face says, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And I just mouthed, "Wow." And as soon as she's passed us, my significant other turns around and looks at her, for a long time. Basically, until she's in the restaurant. I made a bit of fun of him for looking at her so obviously, and that was that. Vicky made a comment right then and there, how it's really uncomfortable to be stared at like that, which is totally true, of course. And I'm sorry for staring, but I just couldn't take my eyes off of her, which doesn't make it okay, I know. For the rest of the evening, Vicky was standoffish, but I didn't know why. She didn't say anything. Then, the next day, she was even more so. I thought it was because the vacation was over and she had to get back to her stressful job the next day. A week goes by and I call up Vicky to ask if they want to hang out on the weekend. She tells me she is not sure if she wants to see my significant other because he behaved in such a disgusting way. I didn't know what she was talking about at first. Then she says, "I was there when he was catcalling after the woman on the pier." I am 100% sure he didn't catcall. I told her as much. She just scoffs and says, "Sure, honey." Then we kind of awkwardly hang up. Some days go by, and Vicky texts me she would like to meet, just the two of us. We met for drinks yesterday. She basically told me she couldn't be my maid of honor because she cannot watch me marry such a disgusting man. I told her again that he didn't catcall, but she says that's besides the point. She told me I apparently didn't look at his face while he looked at the woman, and his look was disgusting. She also asked me if I'm not worried at all marrying him, now that I know what his type really was. I told her that even I stared at the woman, and she's certainly not my type, because I'm not into women. She was just stunningly beautiful. Vicky says that's different. I should have seen the look. Well, I don't know what to say to that, because I obviously didn't see it. I asked Vicky if she had a bad experience in a situation like that. I expected maybe the whole scene took her back to an uncomfortable situation she herself experienced. But she just waved it off, said this wasn't about her, it was about him staring at young woman. Now, the woman wasn't particularly young. It's hard to guess her age because she was wearing a lot of makeup, but I would say she was at least in her late 20s. I'm just so confused. Did we experience the same situation? It's like Vicky saw it completely differently. When I got home, I told my significant other, and he was really surprised, and told me that he didn't catcall and never would do anything like that, and that he's sorry for staring at the woman, which is not even an issue for me. But now I'm thinking, should it be? He called Tom and asked his perspective, and Tom was totally surprised as well. Vicky made some comments, but he didn't know it was that big of a deal, and he didn't even know she doesn't want to be my maid of honor anymore. Which makes me think, maybe this is not so serious after all, or she would have told Tom about it. Anyway, I'm at a loss. Can one look really be so bad to change one's opinion of another person? Is Vicky exaggerating, or am I not worried enough? May there be an underlying issue I'm not seeing? Imagine being so attractive you've destroyed a person's marriage just by walking past and smoking a cigarette. The whole story sounds utterly insane. I can't believe there are actually humans that would end relationships over a single look. Vicky is on some BS. Ignore her. Some woman locked eyes with your fiancé and he stared back. You teased him about it but acknowledged she was indeed beautiful. End of story. Sounds like a very functional relationship to me. Update. So first off, thanks for all your insights. It made me think about my relationship with Vicky, and I realized that ever since I've been together with my significant other, Vicky and I have almost never seen each other one-on-one anymore. I thought about all the possible reasons for how Vicky reacted that were brought up in the comments. Some of them seemed reasonable enough. Vicky's desire to be the first to marry, as she and Tom have been together longer. Being my maid of honor may have been too much for her. Possible jealousy issue between Vicky and Tom that I didn't see, especially because Tom is out of town a lot. Catcalling situation in Vicky's past. Maybe Vicky has a thing for my significant other. This was brought up a couple of times and I found it pretty ridiculous at first, but I'll come to that later. Anyway, I decided to give Vicky another week to cool off. Then I met her for brunch and talked it over with her one more time. Told her that there was no catcalling and that I'm totally okay with my significant other looking at the occasional ghost of Marilyn Monroe. I also told her that if she didn't want to be my maid of honor anymore, that was totally fine, and I would love to have her at our wedding as a guest. She seemed really relieved at this last suggestion, and told me she can't imagine being my maid of honor now. She can't forget the disgusting look on significant other's face after all, but she would like to attend the wedding, which made me think. Maybe she really wanted to get out of the maid of honor thing and was just grasping at straws and picked the first situation that presented itself for some sort of drama. So we parted on friendly terms, and I decided to spend more time with Vicky one-on-one without the guys. Maybe then she would open up more and tell me what the real problem was at some point. When I got home, however, my significant other says, "So I guess Vicky's not mad anymore." "Sure," I say. "How do you know?" Turns out, the minute Vicky left the restaurant, she already texted my significant other and asked him if he wanted to play tennis with her on Friday. Vicky and one of her colleagues have a weekly reservation at a tennis club, and whenever the colleague can't make it, Vicky asks my significant other. This happens about once a month. But it seemed weird to me. She thinks he's so disgusting, but she wants to play tennis with him? During the next few days, I was a bit torn. Was this Vicky's way of an olive branch, or was there something about the comments with Vicky having a thing for my significant other? A situation came to mind. When I was still single and Vicky wanted to set me up with my now significant other, she always went on and on about how handsome he was, etc., and saying things like, if I wasn't with Tom, I would totally date him. But I thought she just really wanted me to go on a date back then. Anyway, after another day of thinking, I asked my significant other if he thought it a possibility. He laughed it off at first. "So she never said anything?" I asked. "Never," he said. "Well, except for when we met, of course." Then, my significant other went on to tell me the real story about how Vicky and Tom met. Apparently, Tom and my significant other were at a bar. Vicky comes in and walks up to my significant other with a super cheesy pickup line. But he, who was in another relationship back then, introduced her to Tom, and they hit it off right away. Now, this is not how Vicky tells it. I have listened to her version of events time and time again with different friends groups, and it's always a love at first sight sort of story. My significant other has been there with me, and I don't really understand why he never told me the real story. But then again, this was 7 years ago. So significant other also asked me if I wanted to go through Vicky's messages to him, that maybe I would pick up on something he didn't see. I did, but there really wasn't much there. Most of the messages were about tennis. Sometimes it felt like Vicky wanted to follow up on something the next day. "Thanks again for the match yesterday. By the way, the meeting went really well," or something like that. But my significant other is so bad at texting, and he just replied with a thumbs up. So there was never a real conversation going on. And then, a week before our vacation, she sent him a bikini picture. Now, to be clear, it was a picture of a bikini, not of her in a bikini. The caption said, "Do you think I can wear this to water skiing?" My significant other replied with the thumbs up emoji once again. But I found it a bit weird that she didn't send it to our group chat. Also, in the corner of the picture, you could see a really sexy lingerie-style bra laying next to the bikini. I don't know, the whole picture gave off a weird vibe. I already had "why would you send a picture of a bikini to my significant other" typed out to Vicky, but then decided to just let it go. I have a job and a wedding to plan, and no time for drama. So I decided that even though I don't know what exactly Vicky's motives are, there is something fishy going on that I do not want to waste my energy on. So I will just let the friendship fade out, even though I'm sad about it. I guess you can't keep all your childhood friends. I know this is not a very satisfying update and not very spectacular, but I decided to post it anyway. I guess the real reason for Vicky's reaction was probably a combination of wanting to marry and maybe liking my significant other a little too much, because she's lonely when Tom is out of town. Anyway, she's certainly not being honest with me, and I'm so tired of all this high school crap. I've been with my boyfriend for about 9 months. He has 2 kids from his previous marriage. He and his ex divorced when the boys were 2 months and 15 months old. She was mentally ill and Kay herself a few months later. His boys are 2 and 3 now. We don't live together, and I am starting to feel a bit used because of how often he expects me to take care of them. His parents and sister both live nearby, and they help him out quite a bit as well. This all came to a head recently when he told me yesterday that he's going out of town on business next week and asked if I'd take the week off work to watch the boys. I told him I couldn't. I only get 3 weeks of vacation, and I already have them planned out for my sister's wedding and Christmas. His parents are going on a cruise and they can't, and his sister's kids have the flu. So apparently, that leaves only me. It has turned into a huge fight. He's accusing me of not being there when he needs me, and even told me I'm not mother material in the midst of our fight. Even his parents have gotten involved. Today, his mother called me and tried to guilt trip me by saying if I didn't watch the boys, they wouldn't be able to go on their cruise. I am so upset by this. It's not even the beginning of it. I take care of his kids all the time. Example, he will call me at work at least twice a week and tell me he's working late and ask if I can swing by and pick up the kids from daycare. It's not swinging by. Their daycare is by his office, which is a 40-minute drive in traffic, then another 40 minutes back to his house. I do it, and then I take them home and get them fed. When he comes home, he has the nerve to ask, "What's for dinner?" and then acts all hurt when I tell him I didn't make anything. I took 3 days off work last month to take care of the little one, who had the flu, because my boyfriend had a presentation to give at work. I stayed over and got up with the baby in the middle of the night to take care of him. He will not let me discipline them. A couple months ago, the 3-year-old was being bratty and spat on me. I spanked him, 1 smack on his jeans. My boyfriend flipped out, asked his son, "Did she hurt you?" and yelled at me. Keep in mind that he also spanks him, and so does his mother. I apologized, but I feel that if I'm taking care of them so much, I should be able to discipline them. If I bring this up to him or try to tell him I need time to myself without the kids, he'll say things like, "I thought you loved my kids." I do love him and his children, but this is getting to be too much for me. They are very sweet kids, and my boyfriend is great overall, but I feel overwhelmed. And I don't think it's fair that he thinks I'm being selfish for not taking vacation time to babysit, because he simply assumes I do it. Am I being selfish, or is he expecting too much? Your boyfriend is using you. He's literally prioritizing his career and work commitments over your career and his children. You've been dating him for 9 months. Let me repeat that. 9 months. A lot of people question if they should introduce their girl boyfriend to their kids after a year, let alone ask them to basically be a stand-in parent, babysitter. Your boyfriend should be hiring a nanny or a babysitter if he needs to rely on you, his parents, and his sister this much, that you have to take leave, and his parents have to not go on vacation to accommodate him. And that's not even including the duckery that is him turning up after you've swung by to pick up his kids, take them home, take care of them and feed them, and him asking, "What's for dinner?" Seriously, OP, it's been 9 months. 9 months ago, what would have happened in this situation with your boyfriend? Would he have had to hire a nanny? Would he have had to say no to work? You're 9 months into this relationship, and you're basically the unpaid babysitter. Ugh. My advice to you, dump him. His personality stinks, and just based on him putting his children in the care of a person he was dating for way less than 9 months. I mean, you're obviously fine, but what if you hadn't been? How do you know the person you're dating is going to be a good surrogate parent at 9 months, let alone the 3 months or so he had known you when you started taking care of his kids for him? I'd question his judgment as a parent as well.